Kenny Hubka, and I'm from Riceville, Iowa.
What is this truck?
The truck is a 77 International 4200 with a 318 Detroit and a 13-speed transmission.
You have had it, did I hear, since 2014?
13.
13. And did it look like this when you got it?
No. No. It was a bit, the paint was gray here, and there was no bunk on it. It still had the two-piece, the split ring wheels on the front, but they were aluminum. That's the way it was ordered. It had half fenders, but homemade aluminum half fenders.
You say that's the way it was ordered. Do you know where this truck came from in its story?
It came from Friend International by Chicago. It's actually a dealership in Chicago. And I'm not sure which one ordered it. There's 3 names on that door. Those 3 names all took place within 13 years from 1977. And on the driver's side is still a driver's name and where his elbow was. And that's why I can't get myself to paint it. What I plan on doing is either reskinning that side, I'm going to take it off, or just put another door on it before I paint it and save it.
Put it on the wall in the shop or something.
And bring it with me to shows, because I have people who know this today. There were people here today, Algonquin, Illinois, that know that name. They knew this trucking company.
Did it stay local or did it run over the road?
It stayed local. I think they pulled end dump.
So it was in pretty good shape?
Oh, yeah.
But no sleeper at all, or did it have
no
a
sleeper? It was ordered as a day cab, a 162-inch wheelbase with the 4-spring International
suspension. Is it still the original
Yep.
wheelbase too?
And my plan is I'm going to stretch it, but it's just going to be frame. I'm not going to cut off, because I like this. I like it to stay 77.
Well, I like this. So where did you find the sleeper?
Nick Nelson. I was parked next to him one year at Big Iron, and he already had 2 beautifully polished ones on one of his Kenworths. He's got a 51 Kenworth, and then he's got a Peterbilt, a beautiful Peterbilt, and they're both polished. And he had 4 or 5 at one time.
Is a storage compartment up there?
That is just my shelf to put my wallet and my glasses on when I have to sleep in the thing, because there's no other place to put it.
Have you slept in it a few times? Does it get roasty in the summer, I assume? Yeah,
but it's usually chilly nights, because it's usually Earlville, which is the 1st of May, and then Casson, which it does get down to in the high 40s at night.
What year's the sleeper?
75, I figure, because the sleeper actually came off of a R model Mack. That was a flatbed truck, and it was red, and it had white squares like an R model Mack of the time had. I've got pictures of it with.
So it belonged with this truck if it was
red and white.
A red and white truck, yeah.
So I'm slowly stripping it to paint. They use a self-etching primer, this kind of yellowish. Yeah, you can't really see it right here, but right there. That was a self-etching primer that you had to put on to aluminum, otherwise paint won't stick to just aluminum, see?
The whole thing was painted?
The whole thing was red and white.
And you stripped it all off?
I've been slowly doing it. I picked the sleeper up in July 2015.
Are you eventually going to have it polished?
Yeah.
Or keep it? Okay.
It's going to be polished. And it'll be connected.
It looks pretty cool like this. And I'm guessing well, I heard you come in. It's loud.
It's loud. It's loud.
And you drive it with some hearing protection,
I do.
I'm assuming. And
Dad has his too. We rode all the way. I told Dad, I said, in the sun, with the sun coming up, we probably look pretty funny, because we're both wearing, they're blue Parrots, but we're both wearing them, driving down the road.
I should know this, and I'm embarrassing myself for asking, but what's the difference between a 42 and a 4300?
There's 10 more inches from here to the firewall.
In a 4300.
In a 4300, it's got 10 more inches back here. So it's actually longer this way.
So it's like a short hood 4300.
That's what it is.
4300 is extended hood 4200.
But they also make a 4300 extended hood.
Oh, okay.
It's 3 inches longer than the standard 4300. And that was for the big diesels.
Did they overlap in the time periods they were made? Okay.
Late 70s. Those are all mostly late 70s.
And the round headlights, love the round headlights.
77. I think 78, they went to the square bezels and then round inside. And it's iffy all in between to 80, because you can see one with square, with rounds, and some were rectangle with rectangle. But a lot of hoods got changed because trucks got wrecked. They found a good hood. Boom.
Is this the original hood?
As far as I know, it is.
What about that bug shield?
That is just a piece of plexiglass I found. I was picking up something for the boss, and I saw two pieces of these laying in the corner of their warehouse. And I said, "What are those?" He goes, "Well, you want them? $20." So I took them, I cut them down, and I plan on getting an actual see-through bug shield.
Does the are the brackets on it specific to what it is, or did you make those, or
It had a clear. I still have it. It's just a clear. It's this big,
a little one?
and it's bent. It's got the angled edges. Because in the 70s, most of the trucks that I saw were Ruans, the company Ruan, and they never had a full bumper. They always had.
Oh, the little tiny ones.
Because this bends. If you hit anything with that corner, it just bends.
Is this the original bumper?
Yes, but I have pulled that side out because a farmer bought it. My neighbor bought it in 1990, and he retired it in 2011. It took me 2 years to talk him out of it. The trailer also came from him. The trailer was his nurse tank. He was a grain farmer. It was his nurse tank where he mixed all of his chemicals in water.
What year's the trailer?
A 69 Fontaine, and it's got air ride. And it was a slider. It actually slid all the way up to that cutout. So you could turn pretty short with that.
And I'm guessing it greatly improves the ride of the truck?
That is why it's on there today.
And hey, it looks cool with it too.
I didn't think about putting my Tonka on like that guy did. I usually do have a Tonka on the back.
So in the time you've had it, other than the sleeper here, what's the most dramatic change you have made?
Well, I put the Bud wheels on the front to get away from the tube tires because I couldn't find any radials. Mm-hmm. And steel belted or the bias plies, it's a whole different truck to drive because it wanders with bias plies. As soon as I put radials on it, and this truck was ordered with power steering and originally ordered with air conditioning.
Does it still work?
The air conditioning does not. Someone took the condenser out and the lines are cut. The guts are inside the cab for it. And a single 5-inch exhaust was the factory, which is odd for an 871. They usually had dual 4-inch.
Hey, it looks cool.
Yeah.
And the winter front?
Just something I picked up down in Kansas from another international nut.
Definitely don't need it today, but it looks pretty darn neat.
Just for show today.
And it looks like it's never been used. Yeah.
Not all the snaps match up, but just the important corner ones do for show. And I got the Perlux, and they work. Gotta have Perlux with those candles that are factory headlights.
Do you have a special connection to 42-4300s?
I do. This is actually half and half of the two trucks that I spent the most time as a kid in. So Dad had a Ruan 4200, only it was pure white, and then Dad had a 4 and a 4, same engine, aluminum frame. And then the other truck, the next truck he went and drove for David Kirk out of Eitzen, Minnesota, had the stripe on a 4300. So it's the two put together. It was perfect when my neighbor, when I knew it was gonna, I could talk him out of it.
Did you move next door so you could be closer to the truck? Let's take a look inside. Is this the original interior?
This is.
Wow.
And you could, like Dad's was only gold. It didn't have the red vinyl. It was just all gold. And then that had a black headliner if you didn't get this extra. See, really back then, all an Eagle was an interior pack. And the seat, of course, that's not the factory seat.
Pretty sparse dash, but it looks clean.
That's the way they were. The only place for a cup holder is what was the original ashtray, up in the center.
My ashtray is how I have My the previous owner on my truck used a Planters peanut jar and
Oh yeah,
finagled some little holder into under the screws on the ashtray.
yeah.
What was the transmission?
RTO 9513.
Was that cover in it when you got it, or did you add
I
that?
put that
Okay.
in there.
Well, that's pretty cool too.
And also, this wasn't the chrome top. It was actually just a gray plastic, which I believe was the original. But it looked just like that, only gray plastic. And I found this one in a junkyard.
It looks brand new.
Had to have the chrome.
More shiny is more better.
Makes me go faster. And that is, I believe, the original miles on it. 620,000 something.
401. And how many miles was it for you to get here?
Oh, well, it was just shy of 3 hours. 100 something. It's the longest trip I've taken the truck on so far.
So between Earlville and Casson, is this the only other place it's gone?
I did go to Overdrive's Pride and Polish in 2014 in La Crosse.
What is your favorite thing about it?
The sound. The sound.
Even though it's deafening.
It takes me back though. And the what you see, the window, that just like the weather strip and the door, that curve of the window takes me back to being 10 years old when you didn't have a care in the world yet.
Is that the first time you would have been in a truck? 10 years old?
Oh no. I don't know if it was a cracker box. I was 3 years old. And I mean, I don't know if that's the memory, but I remember eating Oreo cookies on the doghouse of a cab over. And that's, to my knowledge, to what I can think in my mind, is my first memory, period. Whether that's true, I don't know. But yeah, no, Dad just drove truck. Well, Dad's 60 years. He just, in fact, 2 years ago, almost to the day, is when he pretty much retired. Because he hauled milk here from our hometown every day.
And
for his retirement, for his semi-retirement.
Does he just sit there in the truck smiling, riding along at this point? He's like, why'd you put me in a truck again?
I think he'd rather be right here on this side. So.
Has he driven this one?
Oh, yes. And he drove my cab over too. And he drove it better than I did. It's like he just never got out of a Detroit with a 13 in it. The way he just jumped in that one. And
does he have a truck?
Not anymore.
Okay.
His last trucks were Kenworths, W900s, and
we won't hold that against him. Does he go to shows with you often?
Yeah. Earlville, Midwest Pride and Your Ride, and in Casson. I never went to a truck show until 2009 was my first truck show. And that was Walcott.
And then a couple years later, you end up with this thing.
Yeah. And taking pictures as a nice side job for a national paper, for moving out, and that came about because of Walcott. My wife posted some pictures on Facebook that I took at Walcott, and a friend of a friend saw them and said, hey, I know a magazine that would like someone to cover the Midwest. And that's how High Gear Photography started.
Were you a photographer before that?
I took a picture here and there. Probably prior to that, I maybe took 100 pictures. And
what kind of camera did you start? Was it a point and shoot, or like an actual, was it film camera or digital camera?
I think a S-series film camera, S-series Kodak. But I think with the truck show stuff, I was ready, and we were into a digital, just a little, whatever it was.
And people can find you on Facebook.
Yep,
right?
At High Gear Photography.
And I thank you on camera for the use of a couple of your photos for drawings.
And I thank you for using them and also sending me prints.
Of course.
I love them. I got to frame them yet. But they're in a safe place until they get framed.
Would be any worse than the ones I woke up with my hair started.